All right. Excuse me. So this is going to be a quick channel life update slash diplomacy imperial whatever um, after action report for Marigold board M. Um, yeah, it's not going to be super crazy long. I don't intend this to be over 45 minutes. At most, it's probably going to be 30. I'll try to keep it short. I don't really have a ton to talk about, even though I did particularly well. Spoilers. Um, but everyone's making like multiple hour long content, and my game didn't feel super complicated. So I'm just gonna try to keep it short. But that said, quick updates. Life has been kind of hectic for me lately with my job and stuff. So that's mainly why I haven't been able to participate in the VDL and other virtual face-to-face diplomacy games. And I don't. I mean, I still really enjoy the hobby, but time being what it is, it can't really make everything. In addition, I'm gonna continue posting lots of gaming videos on this channel still outside of diplomacy. So I know if you're here just for diplomacy, thank you. But hopefully you're not too put off by the other videos I'm planning on posting. I'm really enjoying a game called Marvel Rivals. I just posted a short little fun Namor frag video with Ocean Man. Really, really funny. At least to me. But yeah, make content I enjoy. Keep doing that. That's gonna be my focus. But and if I make it big, I make it big. I'm probably gonna plan on streaming it on Twitch as well. Twitch.tv/EpsTV. If you guys care. But yeah, gonna make a short, quick little after action report. And get started. All right. So I played a country called Abyssinia, better known as Ethiopia in history. I think historically, Abyssinia was like the first real kingdom of like Ethiopia. I'm not sure when it got called Ethiopia, but this is one of the first times like it's like a more contemporary or I guess modern is the correct word, more modern um, country. So Abyssinia, Ethiopia, on the map is this little brown color south of Arabia, right here, right? Cool, awesome, fantastic. Um, the way powers were chosen in this super large variant, there's like 20 to 25 different countries you could play. The way powers were chosen, you had when you were applying to play this variant is what it's called, a variant. You could choose your top five picks, or you could just say, "I don't care what I get. We're gonna do a quote unquote scrap vote." And I opted for the scrap vote because I didn't really care what I played. There's lots of good options here, each with their own difficulty. Um, but I decided I didn't really care, and if I got stuck with like a four power regional, I wasn't going to be upset. They all look pretty decent. Maybe besides Egeron right here, but I digress. I ended up getting Abyssinia, which if I had to choose was one of my top picks. So I'm glad I got it. Um, Very little contact with colonials. Colonials are these super large powers, right? England, Spain, France, right? They have these colonies across the board. They're not just all in one location. They start with like 16 centers or more. If you go over here, yeah, starts with 16, 16, 14, The only big power next to me was the Ottoman Empire, this red in the center, which admittedly could be a pretty large threat to me if I wasn't careful. Um, but yeah. But going into the game, my thoughts were pretty simple. I wanted to try and make sure I was friendly with Egeran and the Ottomans. Um, at the bare minimum, I wanted the DMZ, both this territory Sidamo down here. Yeah, I can actually do this. What is it? Epic pen. Yep, I wanted to make sure um, Sidamo down here. Here. I wanted to make sure this territory was DMZ'd, dematerial. I can't speak, but basically, I didn't want either of us to go into here, and I also wanted to DMZ the Red Sea, because we both have fleets starting really close to each other. That was the goal. Whether or not I stayed friendly with them wasn't, a big concern, because it's diplomacy, and you may have to stab somebody or attack somebody at some point, whether or not you like it or not. So, but that was the plan. Year one, just make sure those two, or at least do my due diligence and my best to diplomatically ensure those were um, empty. Which, if you can, you know, see the results of the movement, I did. I accomplished my year one goal. Um, Outside of tactics, Congo down here was the guy I was looking to try to ally with more long term. I say long term, but I mean like 5 years, and to get through the early game and have a strong partner to secure my position. Um, Again, I find diplomacy to be a game of flexible mindsets, and if you're not able to think about like potentially stabbing a solid ally, if you had to, um, you're not going to do particularly well. It's very rare, at least. It's going to be much harder. But yeah, Congo was the guy I wanted to work with more long term. Um, you know, that was the goal moving forward there. Again, not a ton to talk about. Um, this is after 2 turns. So I showed you the moves for the first turn. This is after the fall. This is the fall resolution phase. Um, so I ended up getting 4 builds. So each one of my units captured a territory. All pretty clean agreement. Everyone got what they wanted. Um, Ajuran got Banyoro, and Zanzibar and Mara, and they made some deep progress against the colonials, which is what they wanted. They didn't double up, but they got 3 still. Cool. Congo also got 4, which is fantastic for them, and I got 4. And the Ottomans didn't do so hot. They got attacked by Russia, Poland, all at the same time, and the Safavids here, Arabia, Persians. At the end of this year, me and Ottomans. I mean, okay, if I'm gonna be honest, the Ottomans did not communicate with me much at all. They seemed preoccupied with other things. Same with Erzurum. So I was nervous going into the second year. Well, first and second year, just because they didn't, chat very much. But I mean, we kept our agreements, so it is what it is. Um, but yeah, so I mean, standard builds, build a fleet, 3 armies, and just make expansions. Now at this point, me and Congo had been in press like a lot. We had made agreements. This is a pivotal point for any point in the game, given how close everyone's centers are. It'll be pretty important to make sure you find an ally and you work. And I had been chatting up Congo, and we've been making good diplomatic discussions, which is great. That said, Congo was a very, very, very strong diplomatic player. So much to the point where, like, it felt like we were holding knives behind each other, like each of our backs. Like talking sweet to each other to get what we want, but ready to make the decisive move should it open. Um, if it was very hard to negotiate with Congo, not because he wasn't active and vocal in our communications, just that he I could tell he was a good player, or at least the way he was you know showing himself to be diplomatically was very strong. All right. This is spring of the next year. Just after builds, you can see three armies, fleets, two fleets, and an army, a bunch of armies, right? Um, Ottomans didn't get a ton of builds, so they didn't actually like shore up their border versus me. And then they had to retreat their armies off of Arabia to deal with Safavids. So, knowing all that diplomatically through talks with the northern powers here, I simply set up for a play to take out the Ottomans. Pretty simple. I get my units in position to take Hawara and Sana. There's no armies here to protect him, so he's gonna lose both of these centers, um, guaranteed. Then Congo and I decide to stab Ajuran. So Congo guesses into Turkana. Um, we're planning on forcing Bunyoro in the fall together. This move was simply to prevent Baidoa from, being able to break the line if it happened. And the bonus is if he's in Burundi, if he's in Turkana, he's behind enemy lines, and it doesn't super matter if Burundi's vacant because he can still retake it. We can still guarantee stuff. So cool. Um, Big turning point for the game. We each set ourselves up for builds, which is great. Me and Congo making solid progress. Nothing much to say there. Is this a turn? Yeah. So Congo and I were working well together. You can see, ignoring the moves, I got Marig and Hobio. He got Mogadishu. Um, he's trying to core it so we can build fleets. He got Bunyoro, Burundi, and Kanem. Right. This is how we split. He builds armies and he sends them. Like we had discussed, we had discussed this. Like, hey, all right, I go north and take out Spain and Ottomans. That's how I build. You build through Portugal and then maybe Mali, because Congo was pretty adamant he didn't want to stab the Dutch. So he was sending stuff through the Sahara, which worked out well for me because, um, you know, I again wasn't trusting Congo's goodwill entirely here. My units were slow to reposition north. You can see I still have a unit in Darfur. He completely vacated, but I'm a little bit slow. I'm in Turkana as well because I was helping against Algeron. I'm just around centers. I just need to rotate my units away. Just give me some time. I'm doing it. Congo, uh, to their detriment and benefit, they trusted their alliance partner. In this case, I'm not a very trustworthy person, um, so I end up stabbing him here. Um, this position, if you ignore the move sets, if you can do that in your head, um, let's count. We can count the dots and see how big a potential stab is here. If I'm able to get into, if nothing goes wrong and nothing bounces, right? In Baidoa, I can force Mogadishu. I'm in. I can get into Oromo and potentially force Bunyoro here. I'm able to cover Azandi if Bunyoro gets any ideas. I'm able to walk into Mandara and Kanem because I know Congo is forcing Mossy here. That's like the one move we discussed. Like I'm using Sahara to force Mossy, and we're gonna leave Timbuktu for the next year because you're gonna be in Sahara, which I told him I was going to go into SH1. Cool. But I shift my units down. He's no longer bordering. Is this the results page? No, it's not. It's the next year. Okay. Um, so I'm in Mandara. I can force Kanam. I can guess over Banda. I can get Baidoa. Maybe Mogadishu. I'm getting like 4 to 5 dots here potentially because I'm getting Mecca up here. Um, and I'm stabbing Congo for 2, potentially 4 if all things go well next year. He covers 1, 2, 3. but he regains Baidoa. Um, I use Molly because Molly's getting stabbed. I use Molly to force him out of Janae. Janae. So Congo goes down a bunch here still. Um, he gets like -3 or something, which is all super good for us. Because what the whole point of this was to stab and make sure he has to disband, and if he has to disband, all his units are so spread out, he's not going to be able to either defend or make progress elsewhere. So he's just going it's just going to snowball him to losing more centers down the line. That was the goal. This particular move, if we look globally here, this would this is going to put me near the top. I am steamrolling Africa, and there's very little for the colonials, these large powers, to do anything about it. And this is the turn where the colonials, realizing that they have no real way to influence anything I'm doing, are like, all right, guys, we can't let him, get away. We have to form a coalition and work together to stop Abyssinia, which I was super disappointed in being, because at the same time, France goes up their own like +7 here as well, and they're the same person making the coalition announcements, and I'm sitting here like, listen, man, you're forming a coalition against me, but you're making just as much, if not more, gains than I am. Is there really an imbalance here? But to their credit, they end up slowing me down a bunch. I have to end up fighting like 5 people this turn or the next turn. But I still end up getting a build. So I'm still making progress. It's just they've slowed it significantly. Um, and I end up not being able to solo. The goal of this game, I was, the goal is always to solo. Solo meaning to be the first person to get to your victory condition and alone. Um, that's always the goal. You can tell people like, hey, I want to work with you to get there. But I mean, at the end of the day, if you win by yourself in such a big variant, it's just a massive accomplishment, right? And that's always in the back of my head. But it turns out, that the from this point on to the end of the game, it's just me versus everybody else, in the sense that I have no more allies other than maybe the Safavids. Safavids stayed neutral with me for a long time, which they were a great player, and it sucks that they had to leave the game. Um, but towards the end, their sub ended up attacking me, which I can't blame them for. But, um, you know, it was basically me fighting everybody else. I mean, I stayed neutral with the Austrians for the duration. And I tried to work with Spain a little bit. But other than that, I'm just, by myself fighting tactically against everyone. And if we look at the final board and the final score, um, we end up sharing a victory with France, the Mapuche, England, and Ming. Right? I can't, solo the board anymore. But the lone African regional left in the game, have captured the all the African regional capitals. I am Africa. I succeeded in that goal. At least my other secret goal was to reverse colonize Italy as Ethiopia. I thought that would be really funny historically. um, but to the board's credit, the board played a fantastic balance of power game. They made sure that no one got too far ahead, and solo threats were very small, um, and few and far between. I think the solo threats were myself, England, and then the Ming towards the end. But, I can't be too unhappy with this. I really wish I was first place. And frankly, I thought I couldn't ever solo this board given the way my position was working, but no one believed me, and they kept attacking me, so I got third. But again, with a variant this large, with a tied first place with other people is still a victory. And I thought I played well, all things considered. but there's only so much you can do when you're in a board with 25, like 24 other players. Um, if I had to make any special shout outs this game, um, my MVP for the game was Austria, and then to a lesser extent Poland. These two players, as you can see from the map, they were holding back France and fighting France and England in the north here, preventing them from running away with the game the entire time. They were doing the best they could, and I think the game ended up being how it ended up because of these two players. They have my massive respect for not giving up and playing a very solid game despite everything, right? Um, they worked with me and Spain to stop France in the Med. They did a great job. Um, as for my biggest rival in this game, it has to be England. England and I never interacted until towards the end of the game down here. In this area of the map, right? But other than that, we didn't really interact. But they were a very powerful force on this game, and they deserve the strong score they achieved towards the end. Me and him, up until the Ming broke out, we had been competing for first place the entire time. I think I have an image here. At the end of 1648, 8 years into the game, eight every there are eight. There are eight. A year is 2 phases, so I guess 16 phases into the game. England and I are tied for first at 78% of our victory condition. you know, we were neck and neck the entire time. So big props to them. They're my biggest rival for sure. Um, there's someone's doing a article on the Imperial Realm, like the main Discord's like news thing for for the number of boards that were played. Um, and like if they put all my comments in there, you'll be able to read more of what I thought about the game. Um, but yeah, super simple. After action reports. Um, I thought besides England, I was the strongest player on this board. It was a mixed skill board, so you can get like a mixed bag of players. But everyone felt solid. There were very few players I felt were like exceptional. I think England was one of them, and I think the Safavids. I don't know if they were like an expert or anything, but they played a very solid game as well. Before they had to sub out, and then Conk, the Portuguese player, before they subbed out, also very good. Um, they played very well. Um, but yeah, Congo. I'm sorry. The stab. I ended up getting voted the most brutal stabber in the with the best stab award, along with the villainous award as well. In our post game, the stab on Congo was game changing for everybody. Um, More for me, but to a lesser extent everybody else because they actually had to play around me. Um, Congo, I'm sorry. It ended up the way it is, but Zoof, if you're watching, you're a fantastic player, man. Don't give up on Diplo. Getting stabbed fucking sucks, but it happens. It happened to me several times. I almost stopped playing, but the hobby is so much fun. Um, but yeah. Other than that, if the game continued, I would have steamrolled Portugal in the south and the Dutch in West Africa here, no doubt. The only worry is France, right? But I'm happy with this result. Look at Africa, man. It's a unified Africa. I'm happy. This was my goal. I captured all the capitals. The other regionals, right here, the Mali, Congo, Ajuan. I captured all the capitals. I accomplished that goal. Um, but yeah, thanks for watching. Again, short, sweet, nothing crazy. There weren't a ton of moves across the with the rest of the other board that I was too, you know, impressed by. When Portugal ended up stabbing Spain, if you're part of the game or you've watched other AARs, I told Spain it was happening. I Portugal, I completely guessed. So like the day like the phase before, right? Um, I talked to Portugal. I was like, "So this is when you stab Spain, right?" And he got so defensive about it. I was like, "Oh yeah, this is happening," because he had like 6 builds. Portugal did, and Spain wasn't doing so hot at that point. They were doing okay, but they weren't doing super hot. But Spain and Portugal had been working together the entire time, and Spain wasn't super hard protecting their capital at this point. And I was like, Portugal, this is when you stab Spain, right? And he got so like, you could tell in the comms he got so upset about it, like, oh yeah, here it comes. So I told Spain about it, but Spain didn't listen and then ended up, getting steamrolled. And there's only so much you can do. Because I think at that point as well, I had stabbed Spain myself. So yeah, they had really no incentive to listen to me. But other than that, and other than what was going on in Eastern Europe, I had no vested interest in the game. Um, Another person, I think, before I end, another person that deserves credit is Lumi in the Ute Shoshone. Um, they played a fantastic game. They were doing super well. They had, you know, captured most of North America, but the combined forces of England and France were just too much. And again, they held on for such a long time that I also credit them for doing a lot for the board states. And it is what it is. But yeah, um, thanks for watching, guys. Uh, GG to everyone who played and is watching the video. Y'all are great people, even if I didn't like some of y'all's diplomacy. Cough, cough, France. Um, but I hope that we can meet each other on future boards and have a good time there. It's all fun and games, and I hope to see y'all next time. Thanks again. Ethiopia out.